I ride with you then, bring the troops in.
I fuck around and let them loose then.
We'll give them blues then.
Fucking call me Bobby Blue.
How's it going, guys? Today we have one of my friend, Avon. He has a deck profile for a deck that he has taught locals. So what is this deck?
It's Paleozoic Frogs with spellbooks and some other interesting stuff in it. Okay. It's essentially your typical Paleozoic Frog deck. I have a lot of fun with it, especially now that Masterpiece is banned and all of the Pendulum decks got hit with the banning of Astrograph and the Supreme King. I really think that trap heavy decks are gonna become more viable. Things like Altergeist and Paleozoic Frogs, for instance, because of their consistency. I think they'll be more apparent. Because you had that dude that, shout out to the dude that topped the Czech World Tournament. Yeah, he had a really good paleo deck. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Alright, let's see what we got.
It's a typical frog lineup. 3 Swamp Frogs, 3 Dupe Frogs, 2 Rodent Totem. For those who don't know, Swamp Frog is like a foolish burial for the frogs. Whenever he's normal special summoned, he ditches any other frog, or I think his text reads, level 2 Aqua type monster from your deck to the graveyard. So, and that's anytime. And then if you have another frog in your hand with him, you can ditch it to the graveyard to special summon him. Effect to ditch from deck to graveyard, return him to hand, and then normal summon him and use his effect.
What made you using only 2 Ronin Toads instead of 3?
You banish a lot, you burn through your resources too quick. I mean, I have tested with 3, but this is the typical lineup. Everyone runs 3 Swamp, 3 Dupe, 2 Rodent Toad. Some people are testing with only 2 Dupe, but I find that I like to link summon a lot, especially in the Mistar Boys, to give my Totally Awesome a big boost, so that's why I run more than 2 Dupe Frogs.
Okay.
Now I run a small spellbook engine, so my other 2 monsters are Blue Boy, consistency things, and that's it for all the monsters. Into the spells, from my draw power, I run 1 Desires, because drawing Desires off the Desires is absolute bullshit, and I hate it more than anything. 1 Spellbook of Knowledge, 1 Spellbook of Secrets, and then 3 Demise. Typical, I wanted to just run a full spellbook engine, but the Demise come in clutch, especially so I can, if I have a frog in hand, I can set the frog, set whatever back row I have, activate card of Demise, draw more back row, and essentially have 5 back row set, and maybe I'll have Paleos loaded in the grave already, you know, if I have to discard them. So, that's my draw engine. Now, for the other traps, I run 2 Scapegoat. I want to run 3, but I don't know, it comes in clutch whenever I need it. I have so much draw power that whenever I need it, it comes in handy, but I don't rely off of it, you know? Like if I can draw into it, then awesome, but if not, then it's not a big deal. And the last card I play Dark Hole because I don't have a Raigeki because it's expensive. I'm trying to get one, I'm trying to get a friend to give me one, but so if you're trying to play this deck, I'd recommend trading this for Raigeki because Raigeki is just that much better. That's it for the spells. For the trap lineup, the Paleos, I run 3 Book of Moon, Canadian, 3 MST, 1 Nordies, 1 Morella, 1 Dynamishkus, because I run the Desires. Well, not the Desires, the Demise. And then most people stop there, they stop at 7, but I run Hallucigenia too. This one is always live. Always live. So if I need an extra body on field, then it just helps. Target one face-up monster on the field, its attack and defense become half. Either you or your opponent's always gonna have a monster on field. So just having the ability to immediately have a loaded Paleo and Grave helps. That's it for the Paleos. I run 2 Lost Friend, 2 Breakthrough Skill. Everything here on out is kind of ratioed perfectly. So these are really good. For just, disruption, being able to negate an opponent's monster's effect is really good. And then Breakthrough Skill has the ability on your turn, you can banish it and negate a monster effect of your opponent. Then Lost One has the ability to reset itself if your opponent special summons from extra deck. So they're just 2 really, really good traps that come in handy. I run Triple Bottomless because I run Triple Bottomless because I don't run any of the solemn package because, as you know, Paleos can't chain to a counter trap. So having the non-counter traps in this deck works. And this is basically a solemn warning, but, well, not a solemn warning, a solemn strike, except you don't pay the cost. Next up, a floodgate trap hole. It's just really good. I really like, so my opponents will like to, you know, summon Tornado Dragon on me, and I'll chain this to summon, and flip it face down before they can do any permanent damage. Or, yeah. Next up I run double Mirror Force, and double Heavy Stormbuster. You know, because I don't really want to run Twin Twister because I don't want to discard anything. And if my opponent tries to pop these, then I can just turn around and pop their back row, you know. And then Mirror Force because no one really expects it, no one really plays it anymore. But battle traps are awesome. You know, everyone expects the Solemn to do big things, but I was playing a 6 Sam player, and he had a board of like 6, and he was going to OTK me, but he couldn't get this off the field because he already used a negate. So he attacked me, risking it, cleared his field. He scooped. It was great. It was amazing. I loved it. So that's it for the main deck. And things can change. You know, it's very flexible. You don't have to run the spell books. Most people don't. I just do it for consistency. Next up, the extra deck. So 3 of the big boy, Toad, totally awesome. The negate, the disruption, and then the float effect whenever he sent to grave is just really good. Overall, probably one of the best boss monsters, in my opinion. The only thing I wish is that he had more attack and a little bit of defense. Next up, 2 Opabinion. I like to go into this game 2 if I have to go second. It piles up the advantage. Or if I go first, I like to make this. Sometimes I'll make this over making a Toad, and I'll save my Toad for late game, especially if I know I'm going up against a deck that has a lot of grind game. Like the mirror match especially, this really helps. Altergeist going up against it really helps. Yeah. And then I run 1 Anomalocaris. He's just having a Mistar Boy and him on board he's just a big beater. Becomes, you know, 2,900, and if you have 2, it becomes a 34. So that's just he's great to have. And then for the Scapegoat, I have 2 Mrs. Radiant, or 1 Mrs. Radiant with 2 Link Spiders, because I don't have a Link Kribo. Run a Proxy Dragon, just for the extra links. I run 2 Mistar Boy, because he's Aqua, generic, really good Link monster. And then 1 Deco Tucker, because he's a generic Link 3. His ability to negate and destroy if your opponent tries to target a card you control is really good. People sleep on it. Especially if you've got, because a 3,300 beater is really good in this deck because not all your monsters are that big. You know, Anomalocaris is good because he can be big, but Toad's only 22. Most other decks' boss monsters can swing right over that. That's why my deck has a really bad matchup against Chudraco, because, you know, Masterpiece is such a big body, it's really hard for us to get over him. But now we don't have to worry about that. But he can, you know, he can get over Masterpiece, especially really easy. He has to. And then, of course, the Borload for the Scapegoat, because Borload's just broken. I love him. If I had the ability, I might trade out 1 Opabinion for a Skull Dread, because there's several times where I was wanting to make Skull Dread just for the extension, but it's whatever. I mean, that's up to personal choice. Now for my side deck, I run 3 Droll and Lugbird. I mean, I could run Ghost and Ogre, but if my opponent, and this is for Pendulum, any Pendulum deck, any Chudraco deck, they search a lot, they add a lot. So if the Chudraco doesn't drop a Mono Iwato on you, and they try to activate a, I don't know, Pot of Desires or something, this card comes in clutch, because pretty much, they get that 1 draw, and then you shut them down. They can't make any plays after that because they can't get the search off a diagram. They can't get the pluses off of any of their monsters. So he's really good. Next for the spells, I run 1 Twin Twister, 2 Cosmic Cyclones. This is really good against the Pendulum matchup. I mean, banishing a scale or popping both scales is really good. This is for the mirror match, or even going up against Altergeist. You know, popping their back row is really good because they rely on their back row. So back row removal is great. Next up, I run triple evenly matched because it's evenly matched. And this deck, it doesn't like to go second. And if my opponent nuts all over the board, you know, tries to make it to where I can't play, you know, even if they negate this, just getting rid of that single negate really helps. And if they don't negate it, then they're fucked. Triple D barrier, man, I really wish I had those 2 secrets, but this is good against pretty much any deck that has an extra deck or pendulums. Going first, setting up board, them going, activating D barrier against a pendulum deck, declaring pendulum, they're screwed. They can't do anything. They can't pendulum summon, they can't use pendulum effects. Pretty much all they do is normal summon and pass, or set and pass. Or sometimes not even that. I've had players just pass without doing anything. And then I can make 2 Mistar Boys and a Toad, and that's game, because it's exactly 8,000. It's great. I've OTK'd pendulum players like that. So much fun. Then I run 2 My Dreams. People don't really like this card. I run it because people run so many hand traps, and this just shuts it down. It's great. I love, you know, setting my board up, just passing, and then letting my opponent go, flipping this, and then them not being able to, you know, special summon Dark Worm from hand, or using Destrudo from hand, or, you know, going into any of the extender plays. This works really good against ABC, and it's amazing. But if I could, I would trade both of them out for the Red Reboot. Because Red Reboot against any chat-based deck, especially Altergeist, since Altergeist are becoming a really big thing, it's just broken. It's great. I don't know if I'll run the new card that just came out. Impertinence? I don't know. I don't pay much attention to it. People are hyping it up, but I don't see a big thing. I've seen some play with it, and I've had it used against me, but it's not anything troublesome, you know. It's not as good as a Dimensional Barrier or a Anti-Spell Fragrance, which I run in some of my other decks. So I feel it's a really solid deck. I feel that now that Yugioh is not a thing anymore, or Masterpiece isn't a thing anymore,
right,
that this deck is going to become more viable. Because all of a sudden we don't have to worry about a trap immune monster, you know, that can just swing over everything that we try to do.
right.
And then pendulums, you know, they're not just going to nut all over the board and have like 10 negates on the field. So I think that these kind of decks are going to be making a comeback. And I'm really excited for what the future holds.
Alright, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Avon, for the deck profile. And there'll be much more to come, because Avon does have a lot of other decks that are also pretty good as well. Until next time, this is J Money signing off. Take care.